A little alien girl shouted, "You hurt my mom." Then the man knelt and showed his hands. The interspecies transit station of Lyris Gate was never quiet, but it was rarely loud in the wrong way. Voices from dozens of species blended into a soft, constant noise. Lights moved along the ceiling like slow rivers of color. Travelers passed through security rings, translators humming softly at their throats. The human stood near one of the medical kiosks, adjusting the strap of his travel bag. His name was Aaron Hale. He had been off-world for 6 months and was finally heading home. His ship would board in 12 minutes. That was when the sound cut through everything. A sharp cry, "Hi," panicked. Then another sound followed it, a body hitting the floor. Several beings turned at once. An alien woman collapsed near the center walkway, her long limbs folding badly beneath her. The plates along her torso flickered from deep blue to a sickly gray. A pulse of fear rolled outward as station sensors registered a medical emergency. Before anyone else could move, a small figure ran forward. The alien child was no more than 5 cycles old. She was thin, with soft down along her arms and wide, shining eyes. She knelt beside the fallen woman and shook her gently, making broken sounds that were not yet words. Aaron was already moving. He did not think about the crowd or the security drones lifting from their stations. He saw only the way the woman's breathing stuttered and the way her body twisted unnaturally. He dropped his bag and knelt beside her, careful not to touch the child. "I'm here," he said quietly, though he knew she could not understand him. "I can help." The child looked up. Her eyes locked onto him, wide and terrified, then she screamed, "You hurt my mom." The translator systems around the concourse instantly rendered the words into dozens of languages. The shout echoed like a gunshot. People froze. Security drones snapped into full alert. Red lights flashed. Weapons unfolded with soft, deadly clicks. Aaron stopped moving at once. The child scrambled between him and her mother, spreading her small body wide as if she could block him. Her crest flared bright yellow, the color of fear. "You hurt my mom," she shouted again, her voice cracking. The crowd pulled back. Some beings hissed, others stared openly. Humans were still rare here, and when things went wrong, humans were often blamed. Aaron slowly lifted his hands away from the woman's body. He could feel the targeting systems lock onto his chest. He did not argue. He did not stand. Instead, he shifted his weight and lowered himself further, kneeling completely on the floor. His knees touched the cool metal plating. He leaned back slightly so he was no longer over the injured woman. Then slowly, carefully, he raised both hands, palms open, fingers spread. Held where everyone could see, the movement was smooth and deliberate, the kind taught again and again until it lived in muscle memory. The drones hesitated. The alien girl stared at his hands, confusion breaking through her fear. Aaron kept his voice calm, even. "I didn't hurt her," he said. "I was trying to help." The translator relayed his words. Some of the tension eased, but not much. Too many eyes watched him. Too many weapons remained ready. Medical drones descended at last, humming as they scanned the fallen woman. Lights passed over her body. Data streamed into the air. The alien girl clutched her mother's arm, shaking. "She's not waking up," the child cried. "You made her sleep." Aaron swallowed. "She collapsed before I touched her," he said. "Her breathing was wrong." "I applied pressure here." He stopped himself and glanced at the girl. "But I didn't hurt her, I promise." The lead security officer stepped forward. It was a tall insect-like being with mirrored eyes. "You interfered without authorization," the officer said. "Explain your actions." Aaron did not lower his hands. "I have emergency response training," he said. "Your medical drones were still docking. She was bleeding internally. I stabilized her airway and reduced movement." The officer's eyes flickered as it received the medical data. The drones emitted a soft tone. "Statement confirmed," one drone announced. "Patient condition stabilized prior to our arrival." A ripple moved through the crowd. The child looked from the drone to Aaron. Her crest dimmed slightly, shifting from bright yellow to a softer green. "You didn't hurt her?" she asked. Aaron met her gaze without moving. "No," he said gently. "I helped her." She hesitated, then asked the question that mattered most. "Will my mom wake up?" The drones continued their work. "Yes," one said, "with treatment." The child sagged in relief, still kneeling, still between Aaron and her mother. She did not move away from him, but she did not shout again. Security weapons slowly powered down. Aaron lowered his hands only when instructed. Medical teams took over, lifting the alien woman onto a floating stretcher. The child stayed close, holding one of her mother's fingers as they moved. Before they left, the girl looked back. She stared at Aaron's hands again. Then she nodded once. Aaron let out a breath he had been holding since the moment he knelt. He did not know yet that this moment would be recorded, studied, and replayed across worlds. He only knew that a mother was alive, and that, for now, that was enough. The human ship did not leave on time. Aaron Hale sat alone on a metal bench near the boarding gate, his travel bag still at his feet. The noise of the station flowed around him, but he barely noticed it now. His hands rested on his knees, fingers relaxed, palms down. They still felt heavy, as if the moment had not fully released him yet. Across the station, the medical wing doors slid closed behind the alien woman and her child. Security officers spoke quietly nearby. Some glanced at him, their eyes no longer sharp but thoughtful. A small recording drone hovered near the ceiling. It had captured everything. Aaron did not know that yet. He only knew that his heart was still beating faster than normal. A station official approached him slowly. She was tall and smooth-skinned, her translator crystal glowing softly at her throat. "You are not under detention," she said, "but you are requested to remain available for inquiry." Aaron nodded. "I understand. You may board later transport," she added. "Your delay will be compensated." "That's fine," he said. The official hesitated, then asked, "Why did you kneel?" Aaron looked up at her, surprised by the question. "Because she was scared," he said simply. The official blinked. "The child?" "Yes. But the weapons were aimed at you." "I know. Why did you not prioritize your own safety?" Aaron considered the question carefully. "Because fear makes people make mistakes," he said, "and kids remember how adults act when things go wrong." The official said nothing for a long moment. Then she nodded once and walked away. Hours passed. The recording spread. At first it was shared quietly among station staff, then among security, then among medical teams. It moved outward like ripples in water, crossing networks and languages. Alien scholars paused their work to watch. Military analysts replayed the moment frame by frame. Cultural observers slowed the footage at the exact point where the human lowered himself and showed his hands. Why would a species known for endurance, for aggression, for stubborn survival kneel? Why would it make itself smaller? Why would it expose its most vulnerable posture while surrounded by enemies? The answers did not come easily. In the medical wing, the alien woman woke slowly. Her breathing was steady now. The color of her plates had returned to a healthy blue. Her daughter sat beside her, small hands wrapped tightly around one of her fingers. The woman blinked, confused. "Where?" she whispered. "You fell," the child said quickly. "But you're okay. The machines helped you." The woman tried to sit up, then winced. "And the human?" she asked. The child hesitated. "I yelled at him." The woman frowned weakly. "Why? I thought he hurt you." "And did he?" The child remembered the hands, open, still. "No," she said quietly. "He helped." Later that day, a request was sent. Aaron was surprised when security escorted him, not roughly but formally, to the medical wing. The child was waiting. She stood near her mother's bed, crest glowing softly. When she saw Aaron, she froze. For a moment, fear flickered again. Aaron stopped several steps away and slowly lowered himself. Not all the way this time, just enough. He made sure his hands were visible. The alien woman watched closely. "This is the human," the child said. "The one I yelled at." The woman studied Aaron with tired but sharp eyes. "You saved my life," she said. "I helped," Aaron replied. "The drones did the rest." She gave a low sound of gratitude. "You showed restraint when my child showed you fear." "That's part of our training," Aaron said. The woman tilted her head. "Training?" "Yes, for medical workers." "For soldiers too," he said. That surprised her. The child stepped forward slowly. She raised her hands the way Aaron had, palms open. She bent her knees slightly. The room went very quiet. Aaron felt something tighten in his chest. "You do this to show you will not hurt," the child said. "Yes," he said softly. "Why?" "Because hurting is easy," Aaron said. "Not hurting takes effort." The child nodded as if this made perfect sense. News of that moment spread even faster. The image of a small alien child copying a human gesture was replayed across systems. Commentators spoke carefully. Some were disturbed. Some were impressed. Many were afraid, because this was not weakness. It was control. Interstellar councils met. New discussions were opened. Old assumptions were challenged. Humans were no longer just endurance predators or clever engineers. They were something more dangerous. They were a species that taught restraint before power. a species that trained its people to kneel before they taught them how to stand. When Aaron finally boarded his ship, he did not know any of this. He only knew that the child had waved goodbye, not with fear, but with trust. As the ship lifted away from the station, the recording continued its journey. Across the galaxy, new protocols were written. New warnings were added. One line appeared again and again in translated form. If a human kneels, it is not surrender. It is a choice. And any species capable of choosing restraint. Military thinkers replayed the recording again and again, slowing it down, watching the human's breathing, the careful way his hands stayed open, the way his eyes never left the frightened child. They had seen surrender before. This was not surrender. This was control. Aaron Hale returned to Earth thinking his journey was finished. He went back to his small apartment near the coast. He slept in his own bed. He ate familiar food. He tried to return to a normal routine, but the galaxy had noticed him. Requests came quietly at first, interviews, cultural briefings, medical ethics panels. Aaron refused most of them. He was not a teacher. He was not a hero. He had only done what he was trained to do. Still, the questions did not stop. Why teach children to kneel? Why train soldiers to lower themselves? Why make vulnerability part of strength? Aaron answered the same way every time. Because power without control destroys itself. Months later, a delegation arrived. They came from 6 different species, some friendly, some cautious, some openly nervous. They met in a neutral orbiting station designed to make no one feel dominant. Aaron was invited as an observer. He sat at the edge of the circular chamber, hands folded loosely in his lap. He wore no uniform, just simple clothes, nothing to signal authority. Across the chamber, an alien commander spoke. Human behavior has been reclassified, the commander said, not as unpredictable but as restrained. There was tension in the room. Another delegate leaned forward. That makes them more dangerous, not less. Aaron did not interrupt. A third delegate asked, "Is the kneeling a ritual?" "No," said a human cultural analyst. "It is a habit." The word caused a stir. "A habit implies instinct," someone said. "No," the analyst replied. "It implies teaching." Silence followed. The meeting ended with no clear agreement, but something had shifted. Fear was being replaced by caution. Caution was being replaced by respect. Far away on a quiet medical world, the alien girl grew stronger. Her mother recovered fully. Life returned to routine. But the child remembered the human. She practiced the gesture often, kneeling slightly, hands open, calm breathing. Her teachers noticed. "What does that mean?" one asked. "It means I am not a danger," the child said, "and if someone still fears you, then I stay still longer." The teacher had no answer to that. Years passed. The galaxy changed slowly, as it always did. But now, whenever humans were involved, things were different. Human diplomats were watched more closely, but they were also listened to. Human soldiers were feared, but also trusted to stop when others would not. Human medics were welcomed almost everywhere, and always, somewhere in the reports, there was a note. If a human kneels, do not mistake it for weakness. Aaron aged quietly. He never sought attention. He never stood at the center of things. But when conflicts rose, when negotiations broke down, someone always asked the same question. Can we request a human? Not to threaten, not to fight, but to calm. In one distant system, violence almost broke out during a first contact failure. Weapons were drawn. Fear ran high. A human stepped forward. He knelt. The room stilled. The pattern repeated again and again, not because humans demanded it, but because others learned it worked. Near the end of Aaron's life, a message arrived. It was from Lyris Gate. The alien girl was no longer a child. She had become a cultural liaison. Her people trusted her. Other species listened to her. She requested to meet him one last time. They met on Earth near the sea. Aaron walked slowly now, but his eyes were clear. The alien woman, no longer small, stood tall, her crest calm and steady. "You changed the galaxy," she said. Aaron shook his head. "I didn't." "You showed us something," she replied. "That strength can lower itself and still remain strong." Aaron looked out at the water. "We learned that lesson the hard way." She knelt then, not because she was afraid, but because she chose to. Aaron did not stop her. When she stood again, she extended her hands, open, calm. A gesture now known across worlds. When Aaron passed away quietly months later, the notice was simple. No statues were built. No weapons were named after him. But across the galaxy, training manuals were updated. Emergency response guides changed. First contact rules gained a new line. When fear rises, lower yourself. When power tempts you, show restraint. If the human kneels, understand this. And somewhere among the stars, a little alien girl's shout was remembered not for the fear it carried, but for the moment when fear met open hands. Years after his passing, his name was no longer spoken often, but his actions lived on in ways most people never noticed at first. They lived in small pauses before violence, in hands that stayed open instead of closing into fists, in moments where power chose to wait. The change became clear during the Karath border crisis. Two expanding alliances met at the edge of a resource-rich system. Old fear returned quickly. Ships gathered, weapons charged. One wrong move could have turned the system into fire. Both sides blamed the other. Both sides prepared for the worst, and both sides requested the same thing, a human presence. The humans did not send soldiers first. They sent mediators, doctors, cultural officers trained not in dominance but in restraint. One human envoy stood at the center of the negotiation chamber. The room was large, designed to intimidate. High ceilings, hard lighting, raised platforms that made everyone look taller and more threatening. The human stepped forward. Then he knelt. The room reacted instantly. Security forces tensed. Translators struggled to keep up with the sudden wave of emotional readings. Some species pulled back in confusion, but the fear did not grow. It faded, slowly. Because this moment was no longer unknown, many in the room had seen the old recording. Many had studied it. Many understood what the gesture meant. This was not submission. This was control. The envoy spoke calmly. "We are here to stop bloodshed before it begins," he said. "If we wanted to fight, we would not be kneeling." The silence that followed was heavy, but it was not hostile. Negotiations continued. Hours passed. Weapons powered down. Ships returned home. The crisis ended without a single shot fired. Later, analysts would struggle to explain why it worked, but deep down, many already knew. Fear feeds on fear. Restraint starves it. On a distant world, the former alien child stood before a new generation of students. Her crest was patterned with signs of age and wisdom now. Her voice carried authority without sharpness. She told them a story they had all heard before, but she told it slowly. "I thought the human hurt my mother," she said. "I screamed, I was afraid, I wanted someone to blame." The students listened closely. He could have shouted back, he could have stood taller. He could have forced everyone to move away. She raised her hands. He knelt. The room was quiet. "That is when the danger stopped," she said, "not because he was weak, but because he was strong enough to choose restraint." One student asked, "What if the others had attacked him?" She answered honestly. "Then the story would be different, but the meaning would be the same." The student frowned. "How? Because restraint does not guarantee safety," she said. "It reveals character." Across the galaxy, human children were taught the same lessons, though often in simpler words. Lower yourself when others are afraid. Show your hands. Do not rush fear. They were not taught this to survive. They were taught this so others might survive too. Long after the last person who personally remembered Aaron Hale was gone, his influence remained. No monument marked his life, but in training halls, instructors still spoke his name quietly, not as a hero, but as an example. In one far future moment, a first contact team entered a system where nothing was known. The species there had never seen humans. They had never heard the old stories. The situation became tense. The unknown beings panicked. Weapons appeared. A young human on the team felt fear rise in his chest. His heart raced. Every instinct told him to stand tall and prepare. Instead, he remembered his training. He knelt. The alien beings paused. They watched. Their weapons lowered slightly. Understanding did not come instantly. But fear slowed, and slowing fear was enough. Later, when the encounter was declared a success, the young human asked his commander a question. "Why does this still work?" he asked. "Even with species who don't know us?" The commander answered softly. "Because fear understands humility, even when language fails." The universe remained dangerous. Conflicts still happened. Violence did not disappear, but something important had changed. Humanity was no longer seen only as survivors or fighters. They were seen as a species that had learned how to stop, and that frightened some, because a species that knows when not to strike. Not because it was dramatic, but because it was simple. Hurting is easy, not hurting takes effort. That sentence crossed more borders than any fleet ever had, and somewhere in places where fear once ruled, open hands became a quiet promise. That even in a violent universe,